Welcome to Michigan State University's 2020 Women in STEM online program. My name is Cheryl Kirschenbaum, and I will be moderating the first half of today's discussions. I'm an academic specialist in ag bioresearch and host of Our Table with Food at MSU. Joining us to give welcome remarks are leaders from the Colleges of Agriculture and Natural Resources, Honors, Lyman Briggs, Natural Science, and Veterinary Medicine. These individuals are not only experts in their respective fields, but also are incredibly passionate about the success of women and diversity in STEM education. This group features 3 successful women leaders who are helping pave the way for others, along with 2 strong male allies. Leadership remarks will be given in alphabetical order by college name. Each representative will share a brief introduction of themselves, their connection to the college they are representing, and why promoting women and diversity in STEM education is important to their college. We'll begin with Ron Hendrick from Agriculture and Natural Resources. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you, Cheryl, and my thanks to you and the organizers and the panelists for putting this program on today, and I want to welcome all the attendees. I am the Dean of the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources and also a 2-time graduate of the college, and I've been here about 4.5 years now and have made diversity, equity, and inclusion a priority of mine. We're a diverse college from a disciplinary perspective, and we benefited from national trends in that a majority, about 55% of our students are female as well. Of course, we see some drop off of that in many disciplines in the graduate levels, and we have done very well hiring women faculty. We have about 60% of our recent assistant professors have been women, but retention remains an issue for us, promotion as well, and women are affected disproportionately both by negative internal and external factors. And we continue to work to change the internal ones in our college and adapt to the external ones as best we can. We know that the impacts of COVID have had, for example, a disproportionately negative impact on women, both in the private workplace and in academia as well. I know just anecdotally from my own experience in the couple thousand Zoom meetings I've been on over the last several months, I have met many more children in my Zoom meetings with the women staff and faculty in my college, and far more dogs in my meetings with the male faculty and staff. And so just anecdotal evidence of things we've already seen documented. So it's important for us that we create a diverse student body and contribute to diversity in the workforce, that we have a diverse faculty here, that we have women across all of our fields serving as teachers, as researchers, outreach specialists, and mentors, importantly as well. So a very important topic for us, something to which we are committed in the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. And again, I want to express my appreciation for the opportunity to participate here and for all the work that's gone in and will go into to delivering today's program. So thank you.
Thank you, Ron. And I can definitely relate, having both my children and my dogs have made cameos in many of my Zoom meetings over the last many months. Next, I'd like to welcome Matthew Zeirler from the Honors College.
Hi, thank you all of us for all of you for joining us. Thanks to the organizers and especially all the attendees. I know this has been a big project for this important issue. My name is Matt Zeirler. The interim dean of the Honors College. I started this summer when my predecessor became provost at Cal Poly. I've been at MSU since 2003 as a faculty member in James Madison College, and I've been involved with honors students from the very beginning. As associate dean the last few years, one of my big efforts has been to ensure that students in the Honors College have robust experiences. There's availability of courses, and of course, working with faculty to ensure our students are getting the experience they want. Women in STEM is crucially important for the university, but especially the Honors College. women are disproportionately by great numbers, the majority of students in the Honors College, and the great majority of students in the Honors College are in STEM majors. And so it's been a major issue for us. And I've really seen student excitement over these issues. I work with a lot of students applying to national fellowships and scholarships, so our highest achieving, and meeting a bunch of students last week who are applying for the Goldwater, regardless of their field, whether it was chemical engineering or biological sciences, their interdisciplinarity, their interest in solving major problems in the world, their ability to do so, through whether it's through experimentation and coding and doing a lot of various activities has been really heartening to see, and it shows that we need to continue doing it. Issues related to diversity, equity, and inclusion are huge in the college. We've always had a large support. We've even restaffed. We've realigned our staff to make sure there's even more concerted efforts in the college. We've had retreats relating to our DEI strategic plan and making sure we're always making progress with it. Some ways that the Honors College supports students is providing them with the opportunities to get into research. Our professorial assistant program brings in students in their first 2 years and provides them with paid research experiences placed in research labs and with faculty throughout the university. Honors College students have the ability to participate in research in European universities through the Euro Scholars Program, where they're placed in labs in Western Europe, again, only available to Honors College students. Because only a limited number of our students receive a professorial assistance, about 400 students a year, with the generosity of a major donor, Tom Wallinga, we've been able to expand our undergrad research program through the Wallinga Scholars to enable second and third year students from generally from underrepresented groups, first generation students, Pell eligible students, to participate in research and have a communal research experience where they're able to share their ideas. We're a co-sponsor of URAF, the Undergrad Research Arts Forum, and that plays, again, an important role in trying to highlight how amazing the students are here. One of our big initiatives is increased access for first generation students, Pell eligible students. We've created a program, the Academic Scholars Program. We redesigned the Academic Scholars Program, again, to ensure a more diverse student body and provided more wraparound resources to help those students achieve. As I said, we also support students applying for major fellowships and scholarships. We've been very successful placing our STEM students are getting these national awards and things like the Marshall Scholarship and the Goldwater and the Rhodes Scholarship. And while that only represents a small number of students, it's inspiring for the students to see how each other succeed. And the students who've gone through these scholarship interview processes, even if they haven't won, have definitely succeeded in building a better sense of direction where they want to go, building their confidence and their ability to tell their own story. We thank all of you who are alums for attending today. The alums are crucially important, whether it's providing research assistance, funding to allow us to do more programming, offers of mentorship, and even just letting us know what it's like in your field, what your experiences are, and what we may need to what you need from us. Excuse me. What do we need to do to respond more quickly to developments in the field, and whether that's contacting myself or our alumni coordinator, my colleague Victoria Morris, who's helped organize the event today. Interaction with our alumni who are in these fields is crucially important. So again, thank you very much, and I hope the rest of the day goes well.
Thank you, Matthew. Next, I'd like to welcome Kendra Sharavello from Lyman Briggs.
Thank you, and great job with my name. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for all the organizers. I know you've done a lot of work for today, and I'm really excited about the program. And thank you for everybody who's here this morning. Welcome. So as Cheryl said, I'm Kendra Charavel. I've recently been named the responsible administrator for Lyman Briggs College after our dean stepped down. And so I will become the interim dean in a few weeks. I'm a professor with a joint appointment in Lyman Briggs and in the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife in Ag and Natural Resources. As Ron said at the beginning, I'm also an alum of MSU. I got my PhD here in the Fisheries and Wildlife Department. My disciplinary expertise is that I'm a freshwater ecologist. I work in large teams of researchers to try to understand what drives differences among large populations of lakes. So working at regional to continental scales, for example. I also conduct research that's really interdisciplinary. So one of Lyman Briggs's hallmarks is being interdisciplinary, and my research really shows that off. I work with a historian of science and a philosopher of science in Lyman Briggs, along with some psychologists, to be able to understand the role of inclusive climate for promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in STEM. At the undergraduate level, I typically teach introductory organismal biology, which is the class that helps students understand ecology, evolution, and diversity of life. And I really am passionate about promoting inclusive excellence and effective teamwork in all of my work environments. So whether that be my research lab or my classrooms, that's something that's always been a focus for me. I've been at Lyman Briggs College for about 15 years, and I've served a variety of leadership roles over the past 5 years. I was the founding director for a graduate fellowship program in Lyman Briggs. Some of you may have heard of the SUTTLE program. What we do is we try to connect graduate students from across campus with Lyman Briggs faculty members who are doing research on teaching and learning to help graduate students really broaden their experiences with teaching and learning. I was the faculty excellence advocate in the college for a year, which is a role that the provost's office at MSU has for each college. It's really a person who's, again, advancing inclusive excellence. So really keeping an eye on diversity, equity, and inclusion at the college level and supporting faculty. And then I was an associate dean for faculty affairs and research for a couple of years. So I'm really happy to be in my new role and to help the college move forward with its really advancing student success. I really am happy to be to do that. I really feel passionately about Lyman Briggs's mission. For those of you who don't know, Lyman Briggs is a really a close-knit residential living learning community. So we have about 60% of our students self-identify as women. So when you talk about diversity in STEM and you talk about women in STEM, Lyman Briggs is a really great example of what that can look like. As faculty and staff and advisors in Lyman Briggs, we look to really empower our students. We want them to be leaders in society, and we really view it as our goal, as our responsibility to help them develop professionally, both as scientists and as citizens. So we're trying to help students who are interested in STEM think about sciences in their societal contexts. And so that means that we have historians and philosophers and sociologists of science as faculty members teaching our science majors. And so we end up with some really amazingly well-rounded students who think about science from lots of different angles. And you'll hear from one of them later today when Ashima speaks to us. We were asked to talk about why women in STEM is important for our college. And, I mentioned that 60% of our students self-identify as women, but really it's a bigger issue than that, right? Without diversity in STEM, without diversity in general in higher ed, we're not going to be able to meet the environmental and the health and the societal challenges facing us. It's important. It's imperative for all of us. So one way that Briggs tries to advance this is, as Matt just said, right? Research experience is really important for students. There's been all sorts of research showing that The earlier students get access to doing research, the better it is for student retention and for student success. So in Lyman Briggs, for example, every student who takes introductory biology in Lyman Briggs has a research experience. We do semester-long research experiences as part of our courses. And so they start out by learning how to do research and writing a research proposal that includes a study design. And they follow that all the way through to data analysis and presenting a poster. This is a really great experience for our students as freshmen and sophomore to be able to come away saying, wow, I know I can do research at a much earlier stage than most people get to do that when they're in college, if at all. So that's one way that we try to advance women in science and just scientists in general. I think I'll end with a quote. You're going to hear from Corey, I think, next, and she'll recognize this one. This is a quote that she introduced to me. It's from Scott Page. The problems we face in the world are very complicated. Any one of us can get stuck in the same place. But if we have people with diverse tools, they'll get stuck in different places. One person can do their best, and then someone else can come in and improve on it. That's why we all are here, right? Is we care about making sure that there's a diversity of people helping us, and so that we're not getting stuck in any one place. So thanks again.
Thank you so much, Kendra. And I've been so impressed with Lyman Briggs since I got here for exactly that reason. And I know in my own career, being able to publish as an undergraduate really gave me a leg up from where I was to what I could do next. And with that, I'd like to welcome Corey Veda-Hartley from Natural Science.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here this morning. And when you go forth in line, sometimes some of the things that you're going to talk about have already been said, but hopefully that will just emphasize the importance of some of these issues. I am the Assistant Dean for Curriculum Coordination in the College of Natural Science. And I am also the director of the Human Biology program, which is the largest major in the College of Natural Science and the largest coordinate major in Lyman Briggs College. The composition of our major is 60%, excuse me, I take that back. I was listening to Kendra's comments, 70% women. So if we look at the data that are shared about how the students self-identify, we see 70% women. On behalf of NatSci and the Human Biology program, I'm really pleased to welcome you here today, and I thank the organizers for putting together this excellent opportunity. In my few minutes, I'm going to talk about the importance of women in STEM first, and then talk a little bit about how NatSci has been trying to ensure the success of women and other groups in STEM. So as we think about this, we have to recognize that educating future scientists, mathematicians, engineers, and biomedical professionals is an economic imperative. Kendra mentioned this earlier because of the high demand for STEM workers. So MSU is working to prepare students to be informed citizens in a society that must understand scientific questions in very diverse areas, including health, energy, food, security, and the environment. And we also prepare students to pursue careers that help society address these challenges. But beyond that economic imperative, we have a moral imperative to broaden access to STEM careers for those who have historically been excluded because of their gender or their race and ethnicity. STEM is stronger when women and other groups who have been excluded become integrated into the community. And there's research to show this. Research shows us that diverse groups devise more and more creative solutions than homogeneous groups. We know that if there's an expression of a minority viewpoint in a group, you get divergent thinking, which can be more creative and lead to more solutions. When there's a lack of a minority view, you get convergent thinking. Studies on the effectiveness of groups that range from cast of Broadway plays to academic research groups have revealed that the most effective groups included members with diverse experiences and backgrounds. So it's really important that to strengthen STEM, we knock down the barriers that have excluded women and other groups for centuries, really. So NatSci is working to create a more inclusive environment where this diverse group of students can learn and succeed. Much research has told us that the first 2 years of college are key to retention and academic success for students interested in pursuing STEM careers. I'm sure many of you on the call, all of you recall those introductory courses in biology, chemistry, math, and physics that you had to complete before going on to the upper level courses that perhaps you found a little more interesting. Well, these gateway courses have historically been barriers for a lot of students, and we are working hard to fundamentally change how these courses are taught and what students learn in these classes. We are transforming lectures that present science as basically a series of facts stripped of development, as well as confirmatory cookbook style labs, into learning experiences that include science practices, such as asking questions, developing models, articulating arguments that are actually based on evidence. These are the activities that motivate students to initially pursue STEM degrees. And often they are not in those gateway courses. And so excellent creative students become disenchanted by those gateway courses and end up abandoning STEM. So we are working to change that, and our results have directly affected women. We've seen about a 10% increase in the persistence of women in NatSci from year 1 to year 2 since these reform efforts have started. One thing I want to point out that is key to our efforts is that our guiding principle is that we need to fundamentally change the system, not just help students navigate a flawed system. We work within institutions that were built without the input of the folks who have been excluded historically. And therefore we need to change that system. And that's what we're trying to do. We still, of course, have a long way to go to ensure that we see women at the benches, out in the field, in clinics, and as part of research groups working to solve the problems that our society faces, as well as creating new knowledge. So we will continue our efforts in NatSci and at MSU more broadly, but we will also look to you, the alumni, to help us move forward. I look forward to hearing and learning from you today as we see examples of your success and use that information to help guide us as we continue to try to affect change. So again, thank you very much for being here today. I look forward to hearing all your stories.
Thank you, Corey. And last but not least, we'd like to welcome Birgit Kushner from Veterinary Medicine.
Okay, starting with veterinary medicine, I'm always the last because of the alphabet. So this is like the previous speakers have said a lot of things I wanted to highlight, but I really would like to, first of all, welcome you to this exciting opportunity to share ideas, and also thank those organizers to bring us all together. So I am Birgit Kushner. I'm the Dean of the College of Veterinary Medicine here at MSU. I came here in fall 2018, so I've only been here 2 years. I received my undergraduate and veterinary degree from the University of Munich in Germany. I then went into practice. So I practiced mixed animal practice for several years, went back to school to get a PhD in physiology. That led me to the United States for postdoc. During my postdoc, I had an incredible mentor who really set me up for my career trajectory. I became boarded in toxicology. So today, my research area is still very important to me. I am a veterinary toxicologist with focus on toxicants, such as the lead crisis in Flint would fall within my area of research, and the potential impact to health risks to animals as well as humans. So I study these residues of toxicants in the food supply chain. So the CVM that I joined has a huge focus on DEI initiatives. We have a very active group. We have a CVM DEI committee. We also just in the past 2 months had the students create a BIPOC club that has invited many of the speakers. So I want to highlight a few of the things that we do as a multifaceted approach in the CVM to create this DEI environment for our professional students, undergraduate students, as well as graduate students. So first of all, we are focusing on eliminating barriers for students to come to MSU, the CVM. And we have a number of very dedicated and specific intentional pipeline programs. One is the Summer Enrichment Program, where we invite high school students of areas in Michigan to join us for real experience in the CVM for several years. And those students come from a number of different backgrounds. We have the BRUSH program, that is a summer research exposure program that has a focus on underrepresented minorities. And then we have the KCP grant. So we capitalize on attracting a very diverse student population across all our student demographics, undergraduate, graduate, and professional students. We also have, in the past 2 years, strongly enhanced our mentoring and career opportunities. So we align every student when they join us with a mentoring committee or a mentor through CVM Connect, and that could be an alumni, many of you here, but it could also be a faculty member within the college at the current time. And that is really to enhance the students' personal choices and interests in where they would like to take their career within the profession. We also have an embedded career counselor, again, to focus on making sure that especially underrepresented minorities who may have a different interest in where they want to be when they graduate, to align them, to provide those opportunities to them, and also look at federal programs that potentially help them with their loan repayments. We have increased the number of female faculty in the college by 6 over the last 4 years. So we are at about 50% female to male ratio in terms of faculty. I want to highlight something that has been a really important aspect in our profession. And I don't know how many of you know this, but many of you will probably be aware of it. So vet med is a woman's world. Since the 80s, more than 50% of veterinary students who join a college are female. Since the 90s, the numbers are above 80%. So for the last 25 years, more than 80% of students graduating from vet colleges are actually female. The big question is, why aren't more men interested in vet med? But the other question is, why aren't more women represented in these higher level administrative positions? Because when you look at the data there, that is still typically only a representation of about 20% of women. Currently, about 20% of deans at vet colleges in the world are female and 80% are men, despite the number being flipped when you look at the population. There's a lot of research going on. We are in the college having a strategic planning initiative going on right now. And we're actually intentionally focusing on that aspect to make sure that we have improved and have pathways for promotion and retention for women and URMs in our profession in vet med, so that women are getting the confidence to succeed in these higher leadership positions. So I just want to thank everybody and that I think there's a lot of biases that we have to break to close the STEM gap in vet med, and I'm glad we have a conference to talk about it. So thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Birgit, and thank you all for sharing those remarks. We're running up against time, so if anyone who's been on the panel can provide brief concluding thoughts on how alumni and friends listening today can help promote and advocate for women and diversity, please share them with us. Just unmute and we can go that way. Or we can move right on to the next session, unless somebody wants to say something.
I guess I could say a couple things real quick. When I think about that prompt as, how could we help alumni and friends promote and advocate for women and diversity in science, one of the things that I really focus on that is key to me is that word advocate. Sort of thinking about what does that really mean, right? The idea that we should be publicly supporting or recommending women's work and people of color's work, and so the idea that we need to really be amplifying those ideas, their work, their impact. I think that perhaps, especially right now with the COVID-19 pandemic, with all the political strife our country has been experiencing, with the social inequalities that are just so obvious right now, it could be that many of us, our instinct is to sort of hunker down and focus on our own independent work and lives. And I think really, if we want to advocate for women and diversity in science, we have to fight that urge. You know, we really have to instead look and act as advocates. And so I would ask everyone to reflect on that and to be thinking about that day to day, that we really do need to be looking outward and amplifying the voices and ideas of others.
Cheryl, could I just quickly build on Kendra's comments and and say I think it's, you know, particularly for those of us who are in a position to do so, to not just think about being supporters and mentors, but about being sponsors. And that's means we're not just pointing people in the right direction to resources or opportunities or other things, but we're using the power and privilege we have to actually open those doors.
That's so important. I completely agree. With that, I'd like to thank all of our panelists again, and thanks to you as college leaders for joining us today. And we'll continue in just a moment.